use cases of Web3 through DePIN. Hello everyone, Daniel from DePIN Hub here. Joining me today I have my co-host Michael Sothan, a fellow American and part of the DePIN Hub team. We're thrilled to have a special guest with us today, Dave Grimaldi, Executive Vice President of Government Relations at the Blockchain Association. The Blockchain Association is at the forefront of shaping crypto policy in Washington, D.C. We are excited to dive into some of key topics with Dave today. Together, we'll discuss the future of crypto regulation in the US, particularly focus on how decentralized physical infrastructure networks of DePIN, as you guys know, fit into the evolving landscape. Well, thanks so much for joining, Dave. It's great to have you here. We met a few weeks ago in New York, and it's really nice to know actually all the things that the Blockchain Association is doing to crypto in the US, therefore also changes the world of crypto, I would say. Let's start by you introducing yourself, your role at the Blockchain Association, and the association itself.
Sure, and thank you both for having me. It's an honor to be here, especially at such a pivotal and momentous time here in Washington, D.C., and the perception and the growth and kind of the new dawning with our issues and elected officials in the federal government here in D.C., the White House, Congress, and throughout, and we can talk about all of that. As you said, I'm here at the Blockchain Association. We are about 90 plus member companies from all corners of the crypto and blockchain ecosystem. We were started over 5 years ago, and we are the largest representation of our industry here in Washington, D.C. And our member companies include household names like Coinbase and Kraken and Solana, but we also have mining companies, we have DeFi companies, we have venture funds, and we represent them every day in front of the White House, the United States Senate, the United States House of Representatives, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and all those branches and agencies in the federal government. We have had a heck of a couple of years, as you know, and we can get into kind of a tale of 2 years, 2023 and 2024, and how different that has been. But it is a roller coaster. I did not know this industry before coming into this role. I have now drank all the Kool-Aid. I love it. It is dynamic. It is fascinating. The people building the systems, tokens, exchanges, all of them are forward-looking visionaries, and it is a stretch that we are on right now. Never a dull moment, and a lot of bruises and bumps along the way. But here at Blockchain Association, we're about 18 headcount total, and we're all in the office every day working as hard as we can to represent this industry here in Washington.
Oh, that's a great intro. So 5 years, it's around 2019 when you guys started. I'm just trying to put myself what was happening that time. It was kind of like the bear market after 2017, 2018, cycle. I can imagine that's when actually the world kind of I woke up for crypto for the first time. Like I've been around crypto for, I don't know, like a long time. And it was actually 2017 when actually the world started paying attention to crypto, Ethereum got launched, and there's a lot of things happening. How do you see the things that changed during from the beginning? Because at 2019, getting out of the Trump era into the Biden era, how that changed in the last 4 years? And then how do you see things changing? How better is the system right now, do you think?
In the last 4 years, we have seen many, many swings in movement. And I will go back to 2022 and 2023. 2022, we are introducing blockchain and crypto technology to elected officials here. Talking about use cases, there were not many back then that were non-financial. And we'll go in a little bit, I think, into DePIN, which is kind of the whole new evolution. But back then, it was really only crypto tokens are used for investing and for trading along exchanges. NFTs were very hot. Members of Congress were kind of tiptoeing into understanding how all of this works. Web3, the ownership economy, on and on. Then right around the spring, Terra hits, Three Arrows Capital happens, other things that we would soon like to forget. And skepticism starts to grow a little bit among uninformed, innocently uninformed members of the United States Congress. And they're not sure what to make of all this. Are you a financial industry or are you a technology industry? Wait, you're something in the middle, but we don't understand that. We have a Bank of America account or a Wells Fargo account. Is that how a person buys crypto? Do you download it? What do you do? And it's this very, very, very long game where you have to have a ton of patience. And as advocates here in DC, that's kind of part of our DNA, to really, really walk members of Congress through this. But the one thing that you want to avoid during a long education process is a market scandal or a market meltdown. And in 2022, Three Arrows Capital and Terra Luna and others kind of were putting storm clouds over us. And then FTX happened. And when FTX happened, everything changed. And I'll walk through this in somewhat of an expeditious manner, but we knew here at Blockchain Association that the passage of time would get us through this. But during November and December of 2022, Democrats in Congress said we were already shaky and skeptical about your consumer protections and about how investors understood and interacted with your industry. All of our fears have been confirmed. We are going back to our districts in town halls and getting yelled at that we were not the cop on the beat and $8 billion was lost. Your industry, it needs to either go away entirely or it needs to go away for a while, and we're going to do hearings and we're going to do investigations, etc. And Democrats controlled the House of Representatives, and a very shrewd and very, very experienced and smart chairwoman named Maxine Waters from California, African-American woman, was chairing that committee. And she said what anyone should say: we need to get to the bottom of this to make sure it doesn't happen again. We were trying to push the point that this was a very small set of very bad actors, criminals. The justice system was going to work. It was just going to take time, and that this was not emblematic of this industry at large. And but at the time, when you were in the fog of scandal and the fog of awfulness, it's just grabbing for blame, and we're just going to throw the whole baby out with the bathwater with your industry. And that was unfortunate, because that education I talked about at the beginning of this answer was just really starting to begin. But we hunkered down. The calendar turned to 2023. Hearings were held. Sam Bankman-Fried was arrested, put in jail, tried, and that is how the democratic justice system in America is supposed to work. It really tested us. It really tested us, and it made us inventory and evaluate and really think about, how do we message out of this? How do we reassure lawmakers and regulators that this industry has protections and safety, and that we are doing everything we can to highlight risk for consumers, but that risk should not overshadow the massive benefits of blockchain technology and what the decentralized ecosystem can do, how it democratizes finance. You own what you own online. It's your property. You can do what you want with it. There's no intermediaries. And we started to push those messages forward. But as you can imagine, a shockwave on the size of the size of FTX really can make doubters doubt you more. This year, though, is very, very, very different. And we can move into that whenever you're ready. But this year, night and day from last year.
I was there. Remember the FTX crash? I mean, Michael was there as well with us at the time. And we definitely suffered a lot, right? That was the first time that we as a company decided to start fundraising. Things were looking very good. The excitement, Solana reaching all-time high and everything. And then the FTX crash. What do you remember from this time, Michael?
I mean, yeah, it was bad timing for fundraising. I can definitely say that. And everyone suddenly got a lot more conservative about taking risk into new areas of crypto, into new ecosystems in particular, or anything that just seemed a bit uncertain. And then on top of that, and there's really only been one major rug pull in DePIN. And that happened like 2 weeks after or something like that. And that was part of our pitch, because basically they were kind of a competitor to Helium. Yeah, we shouldn't even give them the airtime. But we were working on sort of this plan to help different DeWi, decentralized wireless projects come to market. And Pollen was kind of our core focus at the time. And then boom, 2 weeks later, rug pull. It was just, it was a rough time.
You touched on this though a little bit. What we had to do to dig out of this was to show members of Congress why this industry wasn't just scandal, thieves, embezzlers, etc. And they said, and they still say, bring us examples, bring us use cases, because almost the entirety of the Republican Party is behind us. They're pro-capitalist, I should say, pro-innovation, keep it in America, make our laws and regulations amenable to this technology being born in America. We want the Apple and the Google and the Facebook of blockchain to be grown and launched here. So do whatever we can, break down barriers, make it happen. Democrats are the party of consumer protection, and we don't want the normal, ordinary, everyday little guy to get screwed by something that could happen from which they could have been protected. So Democrats say every time we're on Capitol Hill, which is multiple days a week, bring us examples. If I am a congressman and I represent Baltimore, or I represent downtown Oakland, or I represent downtown Houston, how are my constituents using this technology? Because over here, I have $8 billion lost. How do I, if it scales, right? How do I, if the $8 billion is weighing everything down, how do I reverse that? Give me something to weigh it back this way in favor of you all. And that is really where DePIN has been the secret sauce, magic beans, out of nowhere innovation that is growing and coming fast. And that is kind of what we're pushing up front right now. And it helps when it's just not, as I said at the beginning, financial use cases, and there's actual, what can you touch and feel? How is this relatable? How are people using it in their apartment buildings or their condos or their houses? And, it's turning, the metaphor, it's like turning an aircraft carrier and not a speedboat. We're trying, and then especially after a market scandal, it's like the aircraft carrier, like the wind blew it more this way. And so you have to turn it even more back this way. And we can touch on kind of the election and the year that we're having, but to continue the kind of dig out story, around April or May of this year, the bad news fades from the headlines. And we realize that with the demagoguery from a lot of Democrats in Congress, and I'm an alumnus of Democratic offices in Congress, and they're great friends and great legislators, but the demagoguery also presented itself in the form of illicit finance. And there was a Wall Street Journal article after the October 7th horror in Israel that inaccurately claimed that Hamas was using an outsized amount of crypto to fund its operations. It wasn't true. The Wall Street Journal issued a correction, but the damage was done when that article came out. And skeptical and detractor members of the Democratic Party in Congress started waving that article around the floor of the Capitol, saying crypto is the facilitator of how Hamas did what it did. And the dark clouds of illicit finance replaced the dark clouds of FTX. Crypto, you now are the primary vehicle for Lazarus Project in North Korea, for Russia, for Hamas, for Hezbollah. This is the next reason why we need to regulate you very, very strongly or regulate you out of existence. And so what we have been doing through congressional committee hearings and briefings and one-pagers and everything else is to show how illicit finance along the blockchain is the least beneficial or smart thing for bad actors to use because of our partnerships with Chainalysis, NTRM, and Elliptic, and their partnerships with the FBI and Homeland Security, right, and other law enforcement agencies. And we have been asserting and reminding regulators that criminals use every form of monetary commerce. They use credit cards, they use cash, they use everything. We do not deny that it happens with blockchain and crypto. But we very much vociferously confirm that we hate every nickel that could be used for illicit uses via blockchain and crypto because it just brings us down in the minds of everyone, especially lawmakers. And we have been really pushing that. And that is something that is going to be a very, very long process of collaboration and partnership with law enforcement and with members of the House and Senate. But this year came, and what we decided to do to fight that demagoguery and those embellished and exaggerated things that were being said about us, we decided, as Faryar Shirzad from Coinbase has put very eloquently, we decided to fight politics with politics. And we grew the largest super PAC in America. That's a political action committee. It's largely a fundraising vehicle to support members of Congress and to help them with messaging and to put it behind their campaigns. We grew the largest super PAC in America. And when something like that happens in an election year, there are two things that members of Congress and people running for president need more than anything else. That's money and votes. Policy goes here, money and votes jumps over it. And we grew this super PAC to almost $200 million. And we like to think that there was genuine curiosity and open-mindedness in crypto apart from what we were doing from a campaign and elections point of view. But boy, did we start getting approached by candidates running for Congress and sitting members of Congress saying, we really want to give you a second chance, and we want to hear about how this technology works and what it does for Americans. And we said, come on in. We've been waiting for this. Come on in. Let's talk about it. And here in DC, in the Blockchain Association offices, we had dozens of people running for the House and Senate come in and sit down and say, my 11-year-old son on the way to school was talking about an NFT that he bought, and I have kind of ignored it and said, that's nice, honey. But I really actually want to learn what this is because I'm now hearing my voters talk about it. And I'm hearing, family members talk about self-hosted wallets. I have no idea what that means. And if I get to DC, if I get elected to the seat for the whatever district of Alabama or the whatever district, of Oregon, I want to be a voice for this industry because you could be the future of global finance. You could be, and we can't ignore it anymore. The biggest proponent of this was Donald Trump, who appeared at Bitcoin Nashville and said, I'm your guy. I would varying levels of probably deep substantive knowledge that the president-elect has, but he knew enough to be open-minded and curious. We did everything that we possibly could to get Kamala Harris and her campaign interested and energized and excited about crypto. I think that she is a pro-tech, California, forward-thinking woman. We wish that we would have heard more from her during the campaign about blockchain and crypto technology, but she, in the most abbreviated, shortest campaign in presidential history, she had a lot of other things she had to focus on. So we were in conversation with her campaign and talked to them quite a bit, but the Trump campaign jumped right in. And in doing so, and then prevailing, the market and speculators and investors in Wall Street really have just skyrocketed. And you can bet that elected officials here have noticed that market upturn, and they've noticed the price of Bitcoin. And we always knew that we couldn't be ignored. And now they know that we cannot be ignored and that we are a major emerging force of the United States and the global economy. And it is, as I said moments ago, it has been a tale of 2 years. Last year, we were at our lowest low. And this year, we are on the front page of major global newspapers and then certainly all of the political trade press here in DC. Crypto is now a force in DC. Hey, members of Congress, you can't ignore this industry anymore. As I said, we always knew that this was going to come and that you just have to grab hold of the railings and wait for the hurricane to go over you. And we did. And we very much remember the people just down the road in the United States Capitol who have been behind us this whole time. And we're grateful for them. And there's a hyphenated 2 words that kind of guides our messaging here in DC. Open-minded. If you don't know anything about us, just be open-minded about this technology. Tune out, let me take that back. Don't tune out the illicit finance concerns. Don't tune them out. Press us on them. Hold our feet to the fire. Help us work on them. But you just can't let that overshadow all of these amazing uses and products and services that we're doing.
Yeah, because I think that's what was happening, right? It felt that there's a few things that happen in negative in crypto, that rug pulls, like Michael was saying before, and we cannot deny those. But that's just like a small, very, very small percentage of all the things that crypto are building, and then the future that we have with crypto is much better than without it. So I feel that the Democrats kind of failed to understand that, or to really take it serious. I'm not so close from DC in terms of the politics, but that's the feeling that I have, right? They thought that they could just ignore that and that wouldn't cause any benefits or any trouble for them in this election. But you saw like the biggest super PAC that I was always ever built was just for crypto. That's kind of crazy to think about the size of the US, the power that he has, right?
And it was Brian Armstrong at Coinbase and A16Z and Ripple and others just saying, you know what, we all of us, we've just had it. We've had it with being this piñata and this punching bag. And if we need to raise money to push back on this, and if we need to just get the biggest megaphone that we have and build a super PAC, if that's the biggest megaphone, then we're going to do it. Because if this is in an election year, this is how the roadmap and the pieces on the chessboard are put out. And DePIN has been, as I said, the biggest emerging part of that, if I can touch on that, and to talk about how that's been the X factor.
That was actually one of the questions I think either myself or Danny wanted to ask, because there was also that recent US Congress trip, and we actually covered it a little bit in some video and newsletter content in the past. But I would love to hear about, what is your take on DePIN sort of ushering in this new concept of what crypto can do and who it can reach and who it can touch, and how did that trip go as well?
Absolutely. We have done, for those who don't know the term, we do fly-ins all the time. And that is usually when an industry brings its member companies or its founders or executives to DC to walk around the United States Senate and the US House of Representatives, the White House and others, to just talk about the industry, light touch, inform members of Congress and their staffs about, and you can name it, driverless cars, pharmaceutical products, farming examples, anything along the American economy. People and associations do fly-ins. We have done it with national security experts to talk about what we're doing on illicit finance. We flew in blockchain and crypto execs and headcount who had served in the military before being in the blockchain industry to talk about that nexus point. And that was one of our most successful fly-ins. But with the emergence of decentralized physical infrastructure networks, we said this is something that Washington has to see, because we have been asked, as I mentioned, about the Internet of Things components of blockchain and crypto. Is there anything that they can touch and feel? Is there anything their constituents are using apart from investing tokens, collecting NFTs, other things? And we dedicated a day to shepherding around Capitol Hill, GeoDNet, Filecoin, CESS, and that's Cumulus Encrypted Storage System, Helium and Storage, and HiveMapper. And we did dozens of meetings, and it culminated with a congressional staff briefing in one of the biggest rooms on Capitol Hill, and it was standing room only. And we had GeoDNet present on its decentralized network of space weather mining stations that report the real-time influence of the sun's solar winds on the global navigation satellite system, GNSS signals. And staff were captivated by that. We had Helium talk about spreading decentralized municipal Wi-Fi from someone's balcony to someone's house to their neighbor's house, on, and how they're rewarded with crypto tokens for doing that. Similar with HiveMapper. They are a decentralized global mapping network where you put a hockey puck sized device, just like the Helium Wi-Fi device, on the dashboard of their cars, and it rewards its contributors for collecting high volume 4K street level imagery on those dash cams that they use. And this made congressional staff and members of Congress sit back and say, this isn't just tokens, and is it a commodity or is it a security? This leaves that policy debate and enters the world of there is real greater good technology that is enriching users being created by blockchain and crypto entrepreneurs. With that being the emerging reality, we need to craft and write legislation that doesn't prohibit the further innovation of this, or that doesn't discourage these entrepreneurs and innovators to move to another country to launch these products because of unfriendly laws and regulations in the US. And that has been a risk. And we are seeing that flight. And that is a big, big kind of unfortunate red flag. Now, going back to Donald Trump, he has said in his incoming administration, he is going to appoint independent agency chairmen and cabinet officials that are going to break these barriers down, keeping the proper consumer protections in place, but break these barriers down in order to let that innovation happen here. And DePIN, I think, is the tip of the spear to just add some sort of relatable thing for members of Congress who are so overwhelmed with their core issues, right? Healthcare, transportation, infrastructure, national security, you name it. We are a little thing down here, and we want them to have a positive touch point or image of us. And up until now, it has been illicit finance, and it has been $8 billion of consumer funds lost. We are pushing DePIN into that space. And I think that is very, very powerful. And I'm really excited about it.
We've been in the space for 4 years. I've been in crypto I think it was like 12, 13 years now. And I only decided to actually move full-time working into crypto when I understood what Helium was trying to do. I've been working with IoT in the past, LoRa networks. I've been ICO times, it's like Ethereum, Bitcoin, all that things that happened before. I really like the technology, but I think for me, being also an engineer, when I have the light bulb moment of Helium was trying to do, it's like, okay, it's going to disrupt, first the IoT network industry, then also crypto, because there's something that I like to say is DePIN is a crypto that your mom can understand, right? It's not that complicated. And you can clearly see, the benefits that it brings over just, DeFi lending protocols, a lot of complicated things, a lot of shenanigans that, make the SEC kind of scared. So that makes me super, super excited. And that's when actually I decided, okay, this is the area that I want to go full time. And we have been all in for the past 4 years. So it's nice that it's been kind of like the forefront of leading, the crypto narrative, cleaning up the crypto as well as not something negative, but something positive, bringing real value to people. And one thing that I'm really, really passionate about into the DePIN space is that, you can use your idle resources to make some extra passive income at the end of the day or at the end of the month, for example. And depending on where you live in the world, this extra passive income can really change your life quality. So this is something that's super, super exciting and it makes me very sad to see that so many companies are trying to leave the US just because of, the regulatory uncertainties that I would rather have my company in the US. I want to build in the US. I want to have everything happening in this country that for the past, hundreds of years has been in the forefront of innovation. Now we see everything moving kind of to Asia. So I think it's time to clear that up and then let's build, a new open America for that.
And if you go back, if you look at kind of technology history, Jack Kennedy, 1960, I want to put a man on the moon. We need to beat Russia. We need to do it. We don't know how to do it. We have no clue. But here is billions and billions in federal government funding. And I'm going to yank the federal government out of your way, space program, get us on the moon, create the technology, learn it. I'll give you all the funding you need. 90s, Bill Clinton and Al Gore. Internet begins to form. U.S. government, get out of the way. Let the U.S. lead on developing whatever this could be. Google, Netscape, all of them. We're going to celebrate this. We want to keep the innovation here. That was Bill Clinton. Fast forward, Barack Obama, social media, social networking starts, right? Facebook helps the Arab Spring get rid of dictators overseas. Mubarak in Egypt, Gaddafi, what happens in Tahrir Square, all of it. The internet did that. Social media and social networking did that. Barack Obama said, get out of the way. Facebook is in the US. We want to lead the world in doing this. We're not putting up any barriers. He did dinners at the White House with Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg, celebrated it. Blockchain and crypto come along. We are saying we want to keep this in America, but in doing so, you actually have to regulate us. So we're kind of the best of all these worlds combined. Innovation stays here. We want to launch the next Apple and Facebook from the US. The problem is we don't have a defined central regulator. We don't have statutory definitions, but we do have a hostile chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission who is going to guarantee that this innovation is going to leave the US because of that uncertainty. So we're a nascent technology industry saying we don't care where the bar is. We just need a bar and then we'll work around it, but there isn't one right now. And with Donald Trump being elected, again, saying this as a Democrat for this industry, that the uncertainty and the scariness of a main regulator, the Securities and Exchange Commission, not being a threat anymore is a very, very big and very, very positive thing. And we wish it wasn't a threat. But I understand that Gary Gensler and the Democratic leadership of the SEC was trying to protect consumers. They were just doing it in a way that I think was misguided and just could have been so much more collaborative and so much more two-way instead of here comes an enforcement action out of nowhere that company X didn't see coming. We should, have worked with them and we should have flagged this and we should have talked to their lawyers. And he just didn't operate that way. So come January 20th, all of this all of this will change, and I think crypto prices are going to continue to rise, and I think that this optimism is really going to start. And the good news is it's pulling so many skeptics away from the bad stuff and toward us. So very exciting time.
Yeah, I think education, right? I think is a very, very important thing. And that's something that we at DePIN Hub, we're very focused on bringing new people into crypto through DePIN, through education. Explaining what it is, explaining why it's not scary. Because a lot of people understand like crypto is very complicated. There's all these seed phrases, this software. It seems very scary and dangerous, but it's not if you have proper education, proper onboarding for that new users. So that's what we're trying to do, and I think that our goal is to onboard millions and millions of people into crypto through the angle of decentralized infrastructure. One question that I have about the Blockchain Association is like, how do you guys help shape the regulatory environment into the next 4 years, and how does you said that DePIN is a very good example for you? What other angle than DePIN do you think is quite interesting as well?
I think that the peer-to-peer nature of all of this is becoming more enticing and understandable by policymakers here in DC. I think that there is a growing attraction away from centralized systems, especially among Democrats who see them as, oppressive and difficult for lower income Americans to become banked, to experience lower fees, to trust, large institutional mainstay companies. And I think that is why you're seeing massive minority uptick in using crypto, and why you're seeing that more open-mindedness toward maybe I should try a Coinbase account, maybe I should use stablecoins more. It's instantaneous payment transfers, it's global. And as you said, education, it's just little by little by little to get all of this to resonate and to land. And we had the first ever hearing on September 10th on decentralized finance. And it was a huge day. And we are still a very small cohort of crypto and blockchain lobbyists and advocates here in DC. I mean, we're still under 100. And if you look at the pharmaceutical or the manufacturing or the big tech kind of presence here, it's thousands and thousands. We're still small, and we celebrated that day. And we watched Congress look at this new era of DeFi and how it is an evolution in scalability and governance and interacting on a global economic scale, and how DeFi is interconnected and it is democratizing. And we saw members of Congress try to understand it, but it's so complex and it's so difficult, and it's just not a normal muscle memory piece for them. But it's transparent and it's efficient and it's accessible. And that is where we're going to keep kind of pushing, that if that snowball is going down a hill, we're pushing that snowball down a hill. Yeah, I don't know what next year is going to hold, but I think that with the leadership of the Republican Party and what they have said about our industry up to date, they are going to turbocharge all of this. And we hope that Democrats will come along with them. We really do, because if we know one thing about this city, it's that it swings this way, and then it swings back, and then it swings this way. And it was Clinton, and then Bush, and then Obama, and then Trump, and then Biden, and then Trump. So you just have to make sure you are communicating and resonating with both sides, the extreme both sides, and then the people, the moderates in the middle, and that's what we exist to do.
Nice. So like kind of going further into that, like I had some, there's a lot of news that's been coming out just the past couple of days. Obviously, it's very dynamic about Trump building his cabinet and which people are pro crypto. And so recently some stuff came out about Howard Lutnick, and apparently, he was looking for Treasury Secretary position. They moved him to Commerce. Yeah. I mean, do you see that, like, is that a blow? Do you think that has any impact or?
No, I think that, so the Department of Commerce exists to promote American innovation and American businesses, and I think he will be great there. I cannot imagine that anyone who goes to the Treasury Department will be a crypto skeptic or anti-crypto. So I think whoever we get is going to be great. There are certainly names of pro-crypto lawyers and executives who are bigger cheerleaders, but I think that the president-elect has a take care of crypto mandate that he and his son and the people around him are realizing. I mean, our industry did a great deal for this campaign. The donations, the get out the vote efforts, some of it was more extreme than others, and you want to avoid that, but this is, as you both know, this is a very passionate, rabid constituency in this industry, and it's unlike anything I have certainly ever seen. But they came out for the president, and he, love him or hate him, he takes care of the people who take care of him, and he holds grudges, and he remembers who was there during his dark moments, and I think that he is going to see this industry that way, and that it was widely reported. Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, was down at meeting with the president at Mar-a-Lago 2 days ago, and I'm certain that he was saying, Mr. President, here are people you should consider if you want the crypto economy to flourish. Here are some good names. Here are some longtime advocates, and I think that conversation is definitely being had. Who will be the Securities and Exchange Commission chairman? I mean, we are refreshing Donald Trump's Twitter account every 10 seconds to find out who that is. As I said, if Kamala Harris won, we were certainly hoping that she would have an open-minded approach to our industry. Unclear who her SEC chair would have been, but it probably would have been someone who was a touch more cautious and possibly skeptical about our industry. That will not happen, I don't think, under Donald Trump.
Yeah, let's hope for that, because that goes like in the question. Imagine you have a magical crystal ball in your hands. How do you think the crypto regulation will look like then in 4 years from now?
I think Congress will pass a bill that will determine the market structure that we are desperately seeking. Are crypto tokens going to be defined under existing U.S. law as a security or a commodity? That will be determined. Will there be crypto-centric headcounts in the Treasury Department, in the SEC, and in the White House? I certainly hope so. Right now, it's largely cabined to the Treasury Department and FinCEN. FinCEN is the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and that is an oversight kind of sub-department that looks at, as it says in the name, crime and bad acts. We hope that there are departments that offset something like that, and it is a very necessary place. And FinCEN has some of the smartest people around, and it's invaluable. But we hope that there are offices dedicated to crypto promotion and innovation inside the U.S. government. And we don't, if they're a Department of Commerce, if they're in the White House, if they're Treasury, but things that don't seek to police the bad, but to also promote the good. And maybe the president does put a crypto headcount in the West Wing. Maybe a crypto czar or someone on his National Economic Council that has a dedicated crypto portfolio. Unclear. But I think that we've never been this close to that happening. The Biden administration kept us at arm's length. And when you're the president and it's your team, you can have the priorities you want, and it's your prerogative, and that's that, and you cannot besmirch that or think ill of it. He's the president. But he did not choose to turn toward us. He did wave around the risks and the market failures. This will be a different administration. So we will watch how it goes and be in touch on all of it for sure.
It's kind of like you being, like a tech or a company founder, and then instead of like you fail once and you learn and you try again until you have a success, you feel like it was the opposite, right? You failed once and okay, I give up now because this is probably not for me. And which is kind of sad, right? It goes against, this kind of like, okay, the country that builds great companies, it's kind of like it's against its ethos. How important do you see that like big industry players to engage with policymakers early on? Because if you start a company, maybe it's too early to start working with policymakers or trying to understand the ecosystem. When is it too early? How big do you need to be in order for this to make sense for you?
There is no too early with the education that we are doing and have been doing. We have Blockchain Association member companies constantly reaching out saying, can I come to DC and do meetings and talk about what we're creating? And it's yes, yes, yes. We will walk you around the House of Representatives and the Senate. We will set up meetings. We will possibly do small roundtables with other influencers in DC to talk about what you're creating. But there is, again, in 2023, there was we need to step back and let the dust settle and let the clouds move away before we start blitzing Capitol Hill again. Now, every meeting we ask for, it is a yes. We want to bring in CESS. We want to bring in helium. We want to bring in Coinbase to lay out its latest heat maps and user data about how many new Coinbase accounts have been created in Congressman X's congressional district. And it's come in, yes, let's meet, let's talk about this. My boss has been, and congressional staff members are very smart, forward-looking people. They want to start pushing out to their voters that their congressmen are crypto savvy and that they understand what this is and that they're learning more about it. And they might want to do a town hall with crypto creators or crypto account holders in their district in South Dakota. And that will make them look more in touch with the new economy. So again, it's a tale of 2 years, because this certainly wasn't happening last year, but the ride has gotten way more fun.
I mean, I would just say, even for me, it's like at even kind of a personal level, and I think a lot of Americans that are in crypto feel a bit the same way. It's crazy when you think like, people think, oh, you're American, so you're privileged and you have access to lots of resources and amazing, venture capital and good universities and this, that, and the other. And then if you start working in crypto, you almost feel like you're mildly handicapped, because a lot of the products that like I'm supposed to be helping promote or come up with strategies for, I myself can't participate in, such as staking, like something that's quite basic. It's essentially like earning interest, at your bank. You have your APR, okay, it's APY, whatever. It's quite basic, but even that is blocked off to Americans. And so it feels a bit like it's a bit crazy. It's kind of counterintuitive. It doesn't make you want to go deeper and participate more, because you're already like, well, if I don't have access to that and everybody else does, it feels like it's stacked against me. Maybe I'll find another place to innovate. And so I think like trying to change that is going to change the entire attitude of Americans in particular towards this industry. Like, oh, suddenly I have access to that. Oh, maybe I'll innovate on that. Maybe I'll build my own staking as a service solution. Like, and it just opens the floodgates, right? So I'm hoping that we feel at a personal level, we also feel some of these tailwinds.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. It is. And as you said, keeping it here is the priority. We are just 4-person coding teams and innovators with the next big idea are just going elsewhere because of this uncertainty in our laws. That's what we have to change. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And even as like we're building some staking provider like Michael was saying, then even though we're not in the US, we have to exclude the Americans from the platform that we're building because of that. And it's kind of sad as well, right? Like first people get like sad because I'm participating in this project, and then when it comes out, I cannot participate. I feel like excluded. But yeah, hopefully things are gonna look better now. But before we wrap up, is there anything that you'd like our listeners to know about the future of crypto regulations and how decentralized networks will shape up the future and what you guys are working with?
I would encourage everyone to follow Blockchain Association on Twitter, go to our website. We lay out the latest and the greatest in every development that's happening in Washington. We're having our summit in DC next month. Senators, congressmen, they're all coming. We'll report out on that. But you have to be engaged. And we are in a constant, desperate need for use cases and stories that we can use to build our narratives and to evangelize this industry here. There is no amount that is too much. We have to go in armed with examples. DePIN are the best. Anything regarding smart contracts, collectibles, all of it, anything that is just not token-centric or financial is what is resonating right now, because it's the easiest thing to relate to if you are an uninformed member of Congress who just has so many priorities and they can't focus on something that's not right in front of them or relevant. And that's largely what we are, except for a handful of members on the financial committees in the House and Senate. It is such an optimistic new day dawning, though, with our industry being, we have always known that we are credible and legitimate and we are the future. It has taken this election cycle and the heavy involvement and funding of some of our biggest companies, and then everyone just all the way down, like people reaching out to us saying, we want to give $30 to a pro-crypto candidate running for Congress? Who is it? That has all mattered. That has all helped. So we just need to keep our foot on that gas pedal and bring those positive stories in. And that's our day to day. So just keep it coming. What you two are doing, anybody else, just pass the word. And then if anyone is inside Washington, D.C., come by our office, reach out to us, come meet us. We have developed a crypto hub with our office downtown. We are almost equidistant between the White House and the Capitol here in downtown D.C. And we just love meeting new people and having people come by here and share and collaborate, all of it. It's really wonderful.
Well, thanks so much, Dave, for being on the podcast. We're going to make sure to put all the links in the description for the episode if you're like on Spotify, iTunes, anywhere you listen to this. Thanks so much for this. I think it was very, very interesting. And of course, thanks for the work that you guys have been doing for the past 5 years. I think there's still a lot of work to be done. It's funny to say, like, we're still early, but I think now there's like a very big shift now. I think hopefully things are going to skyrocket, not in terms of just prices, but also, development and excitement and things that we're going to do to help the world. Because one thing that I said before, I think DePIN can make the world a better place in a lot of ways by being more inclusive and, allowing people to earn some passive income and actually being part of the infrastructure that I use every day. Let's everyone that's listening out there, make sure to go to depinhub.io, subscribe to the newsletter, follow us everywhere we can, because there's a lot of cool things happening. Next year is going to be super, super exciting, and I can't wait to just continue building and see where this industry is going to go. Thanks so much, all. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Michael. And let's go.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so
Thanks
much,
for having
Dave.
me.